Good morning, dear students. A very warm welcome to your economics class. Well, students, do you all remember what we did in our last class? In our last class, we have started with the first important method of measuring national income. That is the value-added method. So, what is value-added method? Value-added method means the computation of national income which is done from the perspective of the total value which has been added in the economy. That means the total volume of output which is produced in the economy, and it is the total value or the total volume of the final output and not the intermediate output, right? Intermediate output or the intermediate consumption has to be excluded from the computation of the national income using the value added method. So what happens, students? The steps to calculate the value added method are: first we have to add the total value added from all the three sectors of the economy, from the primary sector, from the secondary sector, and from the tertiary sector. And when we combine the value added of all these three sectors, it gives us the gross value added at market price, the GVAMP, which is also known as the GDPMP or the gross domestic product at market price. So after obtaining the GDPMP, our task is to arrive at the NNPFC or the national income. So from GDPMP we have to follow the usual procedures. First we have to deduct the net indirect taxes in order to convert the market price into factor cost. That is, GDPMP will be converted into GDPFC. Then next we have to deduct the depreciation in order to convert the gross into net. So GDPFC will turn into NDPFC. And finally one thing remains is to convert the domestic to national. And for that we have to add the net factor income from abroad. And then NDPFC will turn into NNPFC. So students, this is the step or this is the way to calculate the national income using the value added method. Also students, we came across some precautions, some important things which has to be kept in mind in the calculation of the national income using this method. Certain things has to be included, certain things has to be excluded. So we have to be very careful whether which things are to be included and which things are not to be included. For example, sale and purchase of second-hand goods should not be included, but the broker's commission on the sale and purchase of second-hand goods should be included. Then students, the value of imputed rent or the imputed value of self-occupied houses has to be included, because even though the house is used by the owner himself, there is always a rent attached to it. There is always a market value of the house, right? So that thing will be calculated or will be included. Then students, the production of goods for self-consumption. If a farmer is cultivating crops for his own need, for his own family's need, that thing will also be included. But students, services rendered to self-service will not be included. The service which is rendered by our mothers to the family members shall not be included. The service which I am rendering to myself shall not be included, because it is very difficult to attach a market value to the services which are rendered by ourselves to us, right? And one very important thing, we have to exclude the cost of intermediate consumption. That is, the cost of the raw materials has to be excluded. Only the cost or the value of the final output has to be included. Otherwise students, this will lead to a problem of double counting. Double counting meaning when the same value is added again and again, that leads to a problem of double counting. Because we all know that the value of the intermediate consumption or the intermediate goods is already there inside the value of the final output, right? The value of the bread already includes the value of the wheat. It already includes the value of the flour. It already includes the value of all the raw materials that were used in its production. So if we include them again, this will lead to a problem of double counting. So students, these things are very important to be kept in mind. So students, this is just a brief recapitulation of what we did in our last class. So today let us move to the second important method of computing national income, that is the income method. Well students, income method calculates national income from the perspective of the total volume of income generated in the economy, right? So it refers to the computation of national income by summing up the incomes accruing to the factors of production for rendering their productive services. That means we all know that to undertake various production activities, we need to hire factor services, and these factors are paid their remuneration after the production activity is done, right? So the income which is accrued to the various factors of production for their service will be included to compute the national income by using this income method, okay? But students, when we say the factor income, we all know that there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and enterprise, and accordingly there are 4 types of remuneration or 4 types of factor payments which are paid to these factors. For example, land is given the rent, labor is given the wages, capital is given the interest, and the enterprise takes away the profit. But students, we just know that these are the 4 types of remunerations. We do not know in much details what the wages include, what the profit includes. So it is very important for us to know about the various components, what exactly should be included under the factor income. So students, before knowing about the formula of income method, it is important for us to know about the components of the factor income, okay? So students, the first component is compensation of the employees. Compensation of the employees means the money which is paid out to the employees for their various services. The first type of compensation, student, is the wages, okay? Wages paid in cash, that is the basically the salary or the wages, okay? The second is the wages paid in kind. Well, students, apart from the salary or the wage given to the employees, they are also given various types of benefits, various types of perks, right? For example, housing allowance is given, medical allowance is given, free petrol diesel is given, free newspaper is given. Sometimes what happens, their children are exempted from the school fees. So there are various types of facilities or benefits given to the employees. Even though they are not paid in cash, but they offer services for which they do not have to pay any money. So those things also comes under the compensation of employees, okay? So those things also should be included in the computation of national income using the income method, okay? First is the wages paid in cash and the second is the wages paid in kind. The third one, students, is the employer's contribution to the social security schemes. Students, apart from the income that is given, or apart from the salary or the wage given, or apart from the benefits or the facilities, the employees are also given some kind of social security by their company that is hiring them from the employer's side, right? For example, PF, Provident Fund. What happens in PF? Certain amount of money is saved in the name of the employee by the company, and what happens, whenever the person is in need of money, he can take out that money and he can use it for his own personal purposes. So this is done by the company that is hiring the person solely to give him some kind of social security. So this thing also comes under the compensation of employees. The last one, students, is the pension. And there are 2 types of pension. One pension is the one which is given after the retirement. A person who has rendered his service to an organization for a very long period of time, after his retirement, that is post-retirement, he will be given sum of money. Sometimes it is given in a bulk amount and sometimes it is given monthly, just like he used to get his salary, right? So a sum of money is given to him post-retirement to help him lead his life in a very smooth manner, right? So the money which is paid to an employee for rendering his services in the past is the pension. That thing will be included. But students, there are some kind of pension which are a part of the various social security schemes. For example, the Atal Bima Yojana, then Suraksha Yojana. There are various types of yojanas which provides pension, old age pension to the financially weaker sections of the society. That thing does not come under this pension. This pension has to be given only on the basis of the services which have been rendered on the past, okay? Old age pensions does not come under compensation of employees, okay? The next, students, is the operating surplus. The first type of factor income is the compensation of employees. Under compensation of employees, we have 4 categories: wages paid in cash, wages paid in kind, the contribution to social security schemes, and the pension which is given post-retirement. Second one is the operating surplus. So students, operating surplus is the income accruing to property and entrepreneurship. While compensation of employees is given for rendering their service, operating surplus is given, or it is paid to the factors of production for their property and entrepreneurship, right? So operating surplus includes rent and royalty. But students, we all know the meaning of rent. The rent which is given if we hire a building or if we hire a plot of land, for that rent is given, okay? Royalty meanings, students, sometimes I may innovate something new, I may develop something new, right? And if I do not permit anyone to use my idea, no one has the right to use that idea, right? So that is known as patent. But if students, someone gives me an offer that person will be using my idea and in return he will be paying me money. So that money which is being paid to me, that is royalty, okay? But students, there is another context here in which this term royalty is being used. For example, I am the owner of a coal mine, or for example, I am the owner of a mineral deposit. If I hire a contractor to extract minerals from my mineral deposit or from my coal mine, that contractor will have to pay me money. That money is known as royalty. He is extracting minerals from my mineral deposit. I have given him the permission, so he has to pay me a certain amount of money. That is royalty. So students, both rent and royalty is a part of operating surplus, and it comes under the income method. That is, it is one of the components of factor income, okay? Second one is the interest, students. Interest, we all know, that is the sum of money which is paid to someone for lending their money. Interest is paid on capital, right? Third one is the profit. Profit is the money which accrues to the enterprise or the entrepreneurs, right? So students, there are 3 types of profits, or we can say the profit is used for 3 purposes, okay? First, corporate tax. First, a certain sum of money from the profit is used to give out taxes to the government, okay? This tax is given to the government as a part of the profit earned by the corporation or by the company. That is known as corporate tax or profit tax or business tax, right? So a sum of the profit is used to pay taxes to the government. Second, some share of the profit is used to give dividends. Dividends meaning, students, I may not be the sole owner of a company. There may be partnership among 2, 3 or 4 members, or it may be even more than that. So what happens when the production activity will generate profit? That profit will have to be distributed among the shareholders, right? According to their amount of share. Suppose I have invested 20%, so whatever profit is accrued, 20% will have to be given to that particular shareholder. If someone has invested 50%, then he will have to be given 50% of the shares. So that is basically known as dividend. The share which is given to the various stakeholders or to the various shareholders, okay? And the third purpose for which the profit is used, it is used as undistributed profit or the retained earnings. Some part of the profit may not be used at all, or it may be saved for future reference to be used in the future to improve the production activities, to expand the production activity, to buy new machines, to buy new plots of land, to hire new employees, etc. Okay. So students, profit is basically used for these 3 purposes, and profit is one of the components of factor income, right? And students, the last component is mixed income. Mixed income means the income which generates to the various self-employed. Apart from people working in the organized sector, students, there are numerous people who are working on their own, who are self-employed. The barbers, the carpenters, the plumbers, there are many people. The shopkeepers who have their own shop, right? So the income which accrues to these various self-employed people comes under mixed income. Mixed income basically means the miscellaneous income which is left over, okay? So students, there are basically 3 components of factor income that we have come across. First one is the compensation of employees. Under compensation, there are 4 subcomponents: wages in kind, wages in cash, pension, and social security schemes. Operating surplus includes rent and royalty, interest and profit. Profit is used for 3 purposes: for paying taxes, for giving the shares to the shareholders, and for future reference. And students, the last one is the mixed income, the income which accrues to the various kind of self-employed. Okay. So students, these are the components of factory income. These things should be included. But now let us find out which things should not be included. The various precautions that are required to be taken. Okay. So we have already discussed the precautions. They are more or less similar. We will just recapitulate. Transfer income, students, the income which is given to people, the various unilateral payments, the money which is paid out not for rendering any kind of service, but it is given just for helping someone or just like that. Okay, sometimes scholarship is given, sometimes old age pension is given, your friend from abroad might give you something, right? So those things are transfer income which are not rendered for any kind of productive services. So transfer income should not be included. Income from the sale of second-hand goods should not be included. We have discussed this point in our last class as well. But students, the broker's commission, the commission which is earned by the broker for rendering his service of brokering between the seller and the purchaser, has to be included, right? The next one is the income from the sale of shares, bonds, debentures should not be included. So students, sometimes what happens, suppose I am the shareholder of a company X, okay, I have 20% share in the company, but I no longer want to remain a part of that company. So what will happen, I might sell my shares to someone else, but that selling of share or that selling of the bond will not come under national income. Why? Because it only reflects a mere change of the ownership. What will happen? The paper, the name in the papers will only change. There will not be any productive activity going on. Okay, there will not be a production of new goods and services. Only what happens, the entitlement will change. My name was written earlier. Now instead of my name, that new owner's name will be written in the paper. Just paper transactions will take place. Monetary flow will not take place, right? So students, since no new production takes place, that is why the sale of shares, bonds or debentures is not included in the national income, right? Imputed value of goods and services by owners should be included. So students, imputed value of goods. For example, the various goods that are produced by the owner for self-consumption has to be included, okay? And sometimes what happens, the owner also uses his own house for rent. So that has to be included. Services should not be included, students. I wrote it by mistake. Services for self-consumption has to be excluded. Even though I have not written that point here, you kindly mention that. Services for self-consumption has to be excluded, okay? Payment out of past savings. So students, there are various types of gift tax, wealth tax, property tax. Wealth tax accrues to a person for having so much of wealth. He has to give a certain amount of money to the government because he has wealth which is more than the prescribed limit. So those things does not come under income method because that does not reflect any kind of productive activity being going on in the economy, right? And students, the last thing is the indirect taxes. Now, in case of indirect taxes, it might be included as well and sometimes it might be excluded. As we all know, if it is calculated, if the national income is calculated at market price, then indirect taxes will be included. And if it is calculated at factor cost, then the indirect taxes shall be excluded. Okay? So students, components are the ones which should be included and precautions are the ones which should be excluded. Now let us move to the steps or the method of calculating national income. That is the income method. The students, one easy way to memorize or to remember the components is by using a flow chart. Flow chart always gives us a visual impact of what is being learned. Okay. So students, the domestic income, that is the net domestic product at factor cost, can be derived by using these components, right? The first one is the compensation of the employees. Under compensation, there are 4 subcomponents: salary paid in cash, salary paid in kind, the employer's contribution to the social security schemes, and the pension which is given post-retirement. Okay. Rent and royalty, we all know the meaning. Interest, that is the money which is given for lending out money or for lending out loans. The profit can be used for 3 purposes: for giving the dividends to the shareholders, for paying corporate tax, which is also known as profit tax or business tax, and sometimes it is used for future reference as an undistributed profit or retained earnings, right? And the last one is the mixed income, the miscellaneous income, the income of the self-employed people. Okay. And students, these 3 components, rent and royalty, interest and profit, these are parts of operating surplus. Operating surplus means the income accrued to property and entrepreneurship. Okay. So students, let us now understand the various steps to calculate national income using the income method. Okay. So the first thing, as we all know, the various components have to be added. Compensation of the employees. So compensation of the employees includes salary in cash, salary in kind, pension post-retirement, and the contribution made by the employers to the social security schemes. Then the second one is the rent and royalty. The third one is the interest. The fourth one is the profit, which can be used to pay out dividends, which can be used to pay out taxes, that is the corporate tax or profit or business tax, and sometimes it is also kept as undistributed profit or the retained earnings. Okay. And the next is the mixed income. So students, after adding all these components, what we will get? We will get the NDPFC. That means adding all the components will give us the net domestic product at factor cost, or the net value added at factor cost. Okay. So from NDPFC, our next important task is to arrive at NNPFC. So from NDPFC, we will add NFIA, that is net factory income from abroad, and after adding NFIA with NDPFC, it will give us the NNPFC or the national income. Okay. But students, one very important thing, while adding the components in any practical or any numerical, just make sure that you are not adding something twice. Okay. Sometimes what happens, students, profit will be given, and along with this, dividends might also be given. But students, we all know that dividends is a part of profit, right? So if we add dividends again, this will lead to a problem of double counting. So this kind of precautions are very important to be taken. Okay. So students, let us now try to solve one sum that will help us become more clear with what to include and what not to include. The various type of precautions that are necessary to be taken. Okay. So these are the various particulars given, and these are their values, according values. Mixed income of self-employed. So mixed income of self-employed is a part of the compensation of employees. The third component. The first one is the compensation of employees, and the second one we know is the operating surplus. Operating surplus includes all these 3 things. These 3 are the operating surplus, and the third one is the mixed income. So mixed income of self-employed people, it has to be included. Okay. Old age pension, students, it will not be included. Why? Because it is not a pension which is given post-retirement. It is just given by the government as a part of some kind of social security scheme. For example, to the financially weaker sections of the society. So this is not for rendering any service, so we will not include this. Okay. Dividends. Dividends has to be included, students, but operating surplus is also there, and we all know that operating surplus includes profit and profit includes dividend. So in a way, dividend is already under operating surplus, right? Operating surplus already includes dividends. So we will include operating surplus, so no need to include dividends. Okay. Wages and salaries. Wages and salaries, compensation of the employees, part of compensation. Yes, it will be included. Profit, students, will not be included. Why? Because it is already a part of operating surplus. Okay. Then employers' contribution to the social security schemes, it will be included because it is a part of compensation of employees. Okay. The net factor income from abroad, it will be included to convert NDPFC into NNPFC. Okay. Consumption of fixed capital, which means the depreciation. It will not be included. Why? Because students, when we add all the components, it gives us the NDPFC, net domestic product at factor cost, and it is already a net concept. There is no gross inside it, so there is no point deducting depreciation again. It is already out of context, right? Depreciation is already not included, so why to exclude depreciation again? So we will not include consumption of fixed capital. Let it be like it is. Okay, we will not do anything with this. This will not be taken into consideration. And students, NIT, the net indirect taxes, it will also not be included because it is a factor cost, and in factor cost there is no point deducting it again because factor cost already does not include NIT. So NIT will also not be taken into consideration. So we will only take into consideration mixed income, operating surplus, wages and salaries, employers' contribution to social security schemes, NFIA, and the okay, that's it. Okay. So students, first step we shall calculate the NDPFC. So 1 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7. 1 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7. Okay. When we add all these, it will give us 1650 crore. Okay. So we have got NDPFC. From NDPFC we have to derive NNPFC. So what we will do, we will add the 8th component, that is net factor income from abroad. So since it is a negative value, even though we are adding, it will automatically get subtracted. So what will happen? 1650 minus 10, 1640. So this is the value of the national income or the net national product at factor cost. Students, let us now solve one more sum to help clarify things in a better way. Okay. This time we have to calculate the GNPMP, that is the gross national product at market price. These are the various particulars and these are their respective values. The first thing, students, we will calculate is the NDPFC. See, we can directly calculate GNPMP, but we will not do that because if we directly go on to calculate the GNPMP, that will make things very complicated, right? So it's better we should proceed step by step, okay? And since we are using the income method, it is first very important for us to sum up the various types of components of the factor incomes. And when we sum up the various components of factor income, that will give us the NDPFC. So that is the reason why I am first calculating the NDPFC, okay? So for NDPFC, we have to add the various components of the factor income. So employees compensation is one component that will be added. Rent and interest will be added. It is a part of operating surplus. Profit will also be included. Indirect tax won't be included as of now. Okay. Depreciation won't be included as of now. Mixed income will be included, students, because it is the income of the self-employed people. And then subsidies won't be included. Net current transfers from the rest of the world not be included. NFI not be included. So students, for NDPFC, we will only include the components of factor income. So we will include 1, 2, 3 and 6. So when we add 1, 2, 3 and 6, it gives us 2000 crore. So this is our NDPFC. So from NDPFC, I will now calculate the NDPMP. So this is FC and this is MP. So what we have to do? We have to add net indirect taxes. But students, there is no net indirect tax here. What we have is the indirect tax and subsidies. And we all know that net indirect tax is equals to indirect tax minus subsidy. So what we will do? NDPFC plus this is indirect tax and this is subsidy. And when indirect tax minus subsidy is done, this gives us the NIT, the net indirect tax. Okay. So we will do this. This will give us 2120. So this is our NDPMP. Okay. So the last step, from NDPMP, I will calculate the GNPMP. Here two things have to be changed. From net, it has to be made gross. So what we have to do? Depreciation has to be added. Component number 5 has to be added. And second thing, students, from domestic, it has to be converted into national. So for that, the net factor income has to be included. Component number 9. Okay. So we will add this and this will give us 2220 crore. That is rupees 2220 crore. So this is the value of the GNPMP. Students, this particular component shall not be included because these are the transfer incomes, and in the precautions itself we came to know that the transfer income should not be included. It is not a part of national income because it is not any kind of factory income. It is just some kind of unilateral payment, so it will not be taken into consideration. Okay. So students, today we have discussed the income method of calculating national income. So how to calculate national income using the income method? By summing up the various components of factory income: compensation of employees, operating surplus, and mixed income. Compensation of employees include wages paid in cash, wages paid in kind, pension post-retirement, and employer's contribution to social security schemes. Then operating surplus includes rent and royalty, interest, and profit. Profit in turn can be used to pay out dividends, can be used to pay corporate tax, and it can also be kept as retained earnings. And the last one is the student's mixed income. Okay. So by adding all the components, what we get NDPFC. And once we have NDPFC, it is not very difficult to calculate NNPFC. We will simply have to add net factory income from abroad. In fact, when we have NDPFC, from there, if we have the required information, we can calculate any value. Just like here from NDPFC, we have calculated GNPMP by using the requisite formulas or the information. Okay. So students, this brings us to the end of today's class. If you have any doubts or queries, please let me know. I will surely help you. Okay. See you all in your next class. Thank you. Take care and stay safe.